Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico, during his meeting with Putin in Moscow, may deliver a message from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, whom he recently met in Armenia. This was reported by the State Secretary of the Slovak Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Rastislav Chovanec. Fico could also receive valuable information from the Russian president on how he views efforts to end the war, the official added. As a reminder, Fico initially intended to attend the parade alongside the Russian dictator, but after talking with Zelensky, he suddenly announced he would only lay flowers at the tomb of the unknown soldier in Moscow and hold a brief meeting with Putin. Fico also sharply changed his rhetoric regarding the settlement of the Russian war, stating that no peace agreements with Russia can be reached without the consent of Ukraine itself. Russia has accused Armenia of providing a platform for President Volodymyr Zelensky at the European Political Community Summit in Yerevan. They even summoned the ambassador for a talk. It was explained to him that it was categorically unacceptable to provide a platform to the president of Ukraine during his visit to Armenia on May 4th, because allegedly terrorist threats against Russia were voiced during the speech. President Zelensky was called the leader of the Kyiv Nazi regime, and they expressed outrage that official Yerevan did not condemn such supposedly flagrant behavior. The Russian Foreign Ministry believes this is inconsistent with the partnership nature of Russian-Armenian relations. Meanwhile, Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan stated that his country is not an ally of Russia when it comes to the war in Ukraine. This was his response to a question about Volodymyr Zelensky's recent visit to Yerevan, where the Ukrainian president participated in the European Political Community Summit. Pashinyan recalled that Armenia has provided humanitarian aid to our country. He also noted that he will not go to the Victory Day parade in Moscow, as he is currently busy with an election campaign. As a reminder, parliamentary elections in Armenia will take place on June 7th. Today, May 8th, Ukraine, along with Europe and the entire Western world, marks. Meanwhile, in Russia, final preparations for tomorrow's parade are underway. This time, they are specific and differ significantly from previous years, as Putin fears that Ukrainian drones will fly over Red Square. Most recently, the Kremlin for the first time revoked previously issued accreditation for foreign journalists. Due to the current situation, the format for covering the Victory Day parade in Moscow has been changed, so foreign media will not be allowed on Red Square, the Russian dictator's administration explained. Therefore, only Russian media will cover it. As a reminder, this year's parade will take place under unprecedented security measures. Mobile internet and some communications will be completely shut down in Moscow, and the parade itself will follow a shortened program without military equipment. Fewer foreign leaders will visit Moscow than in 2023 and 2024 among those standing beside Putin. Alexander Lukashenko, the president of Laos, the ruler of Malaysia, and the self-proclaimed heads of unrecognized Abkhazia, South Ossetia, and the Republika Srpska, an entity on the territory of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Why is the Kremlin forced to change the format of its main holiday this year? Increased security, restrictions in Moscow, and fear of Ukrainian long-range strikes? All this, says former U.S. Army Europe Commander Ben Hodges, indicates a shift in the balance of the war. In his view, Ukrainian long-range capabilities are not only striking Russian infrastructure, but also destroying the Kremlin's main myth about Russia's invulnerability and the inevitability of its victory. Hodges spoke about why Moscow is increasingly afraid of its own vulnerability in an interview with Independence Avenue Media.
Let's start from the May 9th parade. Usually Putin holds the May 9th parade as one of the biggest, if not the biggest, celebrations in the country. During the recent years of the war, many world leaders have joined him on Red Square. But this year, everything will be different. How do you assess this? Why are they scaling back the parade? What's going on?
Well, it seems to be related to anxiety. They don't want Ukrainian drones and flamingos to fly right into the parade, so they've scaled it down. There's a significant security buildup in and around the capital, including restrictions on internet activity. Many things are being very tightly controlled now because I think they're afraid the Ukrainians will use this as an opportunity for a major humiliation. One could also assume there will be troops but no equipment, because all the equipment is focused on the war. Or there are other reasons. But it's obvious that the average Muscovite will notice this is no longer the grand parade it used to be.
Are the Ukrainians capable of causing some damage on Red Square?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yes, absolutely. Just a few days ago, they hit a large elite residential building in Moscow and struck one of the prestigious districts. Usually they don't attack civilian infrastructure, but they've demonstrated their range of strike. And frankly, I really believe this is Ukraine's path to victory. They've developed such effective long-range precision weapons that can hit oil and gas infrastructure, factories, headquarters, and similar targets at great distances. This really changes the situation for the Russians. First of all, if they can't export oil and gas, they can't sustain the war. But it also has a psychological effect because it becomes much harder for the Kremlin to present this as a successful operation and to convince people that Ukrainians are significantly weaker than Russians and so on. So yes, the Ukrainians certainly have such capabilities, and it also wouldn't surprise me if it later turns out that they have infiltrated many Russian military intelligence agents and special operators in Moscow and around it who can also carry out certain actions.
Latvia summoned a representative of the Russian embassy to its Ministry of Foreign Affairs and handed him a note of protest over the crash of drones that flew into the country yesterday from Russian airspace. Latvian diplomats noted that Russia is waging an aggressive war against Ukraine and thereby creates risks of security incidents throughout the entire region. They noted that Riga has never allowed its airspace to be used for launching Ukrainian drones at Russia. Latvia also condemned Moscow's public threats regarding a possible massive attack on Kiev on May 9th and stated that the Russian Federation's war of aggression against Ukraine is a gross violation of international law and the UN Charter, so Russia must stop its aggression as soon as possible. Today is the day of remembrance and victory over Nazism, the day when all of Europe marks the end of the most terrible war of the 20th century, a war after which a true peace should have come. But war has once again turned our land into a field of brutal battles, noted the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. Ukrainian lands became one of the key theaters of military operations. The territory of our state was divided between the Nazi and Soviet occupation regimes, which led to large-scale human losses, repressions, and mass violence. The losses of the Ukrainian people are among the largest in the Second World War. The direct human losses of our country amount to over 8 million people, both military and civilian. The day of remembrance and victory over Nazism. This is a reminder that the Second World War began as a result of agreements between two totalitarian regimes, as well as the silent reluctance of the world's most powerful states to resist the aggressors. After many decades, Ukrainians are once again forced to stop evil, noted Volodymyr Zelensky.
81 years later, we are once again forced to stop evil. Also a total one which brings nothing but ruins and abuse and which is based on a similar ideology of hatred. An updated version of Nazism that is labeled Made in Russia. Today, a united free world can and must overcome such Russian aggression. And I am grateful to everyone who helps us protect lives. Grateful to everyone who does not let this Russian regime dictate to the world what will happen next. Protecting the lives of people and the freedom of nations from Putin is an absolutely worthy tribute to the memory of those who did not allow Hitler to conquer Europe and the world.